All right, we're back. Our number one goal here is to get the sound or the 8 outputs from our AMBIPanner in Max into this Waves NX plugin so that we can hopefully hear and track these the sound in our headphones and actually work on our patch in a experiential way, which would be really exciting. Okay, so what the heck is this plugin? How do we use it? And also this VST. The VST object in Max will also need to make sure we know how to use. So those, I guess, are our two things. What is this plugin? This is the Waves website again. This first video is not worth watching. Let's watch this one.
Maybe Can I tell you about a really cool plugin that will make your headphones sound as if you're sitting in the middle of a professional mix room? It's called Waves NX. And if you mix audio and don't have a perfectly treated room, it very well may change your life. In fact, even if you already have a professional mix room with heavy acoustic treatment and super high-end speakers, you still might find Waves NX very useful whenever you're not in that room. Let me tell you why. Waves NX is an audio plugin that gives you a beautiful sounding virtual mix room right inside your headphones. No matter where you are, as long as you've got your headphones with you, you can be in the sweet spot of that beautiful sounding room. You see, mixing on headphones has a lot of advantages. You can do it anywhere, you can do it anytime. But up until now, you couldn't really do an accurate mix on headphones that would translate properly to speakers in a real physical room. Why? Because listening on headphones and listening on speakers, they're two very different things. When you listen on headphones, left and right are completely separated. Whatever comes out of the left side of your headphones, you only hear through your left ear. Whatever comes out of the right side, you only hear through your right ear. But that's not the way you hear sound when it's coming at you from speakers in a real physical room. When you're in an actual room, you hear everything through both ears, with a little time delay between them. And that's not all. When you listen through speakers, you hear both the direct sound coming from the speakers and the ambient sound reflected from the walls around you. On headphones, you only hear the direct sound. So how does that affect your mix? When you hear everything through both ears in a physical environment, what you're hearing is a full, rich, realistic stereo image. You're able to make good decisions in your mix about depth, space, and stereo panning, which means you can decide exactly where each element in your mix should be. But when you're listening on headphones and everything is separated hard left and right, all that feeling of real space is gone. This is where NX comes in. With Waves NX, you can get the same experience using headphones that you would get as if you were listening in an actual room. NX gives you that experience by recreating, on headphones, the same signals that would arrive to your ears if you were listening to actual speakers. The same natural delay between the ears, the same feeling of immersive room ambience. All you have to do is insert the NX plugin on your master bus, and when you put on your headphones, it'll sound as if you're listening to speakers in a perfectly treated room. You can even use a head tracker to track your head movements in order to get that extra real feeling of the sound coming at you from a fixed point in the room. Want to hear something else that's pretty cool? Waves NX will let you mix for 5.1 surround sound, wait for it, on your stereo headphones. Bottom line, what NX does is give you an accurate way to monitor your mixes using headphones. Because this is a plugin that has to work in real time, you got to download the demo and try it out for yourself. So head over to waves.com/NX and try it out. I think you're going to like it.
Okay, I can see this being really, really useful. Quick start tutorial. Let's do it. Hope everyone can hear the audio from these videos.
Hey guys, I'm Yoni Zlotkin, product manager of NX. NX is a virtual monitoring plugin that will let you hear sound on headphones as if it were coming from speakers around you in a room. NX will let you make good mixing decisions while you're working with headphones. I would like to show you the basics of how it works. First of all, I'm going to insert NX on the last point of my signal chain, in this case the master bus. NX comes with a head tracking application. It uses the web camera to track your face and head movements. When I open the plugin, the head tracking application comes up automatically. You can see here it detects my face and draws a box around it, and wherever I move, it follows me. Notice that the tracking algorithm needs to see your eyes, nose, and mouth to reliably track your position. If I move too far to one side, it will lose the tracking. Notice that the tracking will come back once I'm back in the frame. So for reliable tracking, make sure not to move further than about 30 degrees off center. Also make sure you're not too far away from the camera, no more than 4 or 5 feet. Another important thing to notice is the frame rate. It is displayed down here. Most cameras can reach up to 30 frames per second, but it can depend on the amount of light in the room. So if you see your frame rate going down, it usually means you don't have enough light. For good performance with NX, we need it to be above 20. Now that I see that the tracking is working properly, let's go back to the plugin. The tracking application is now running in the background. Once audio is running through the plugin, I can start to see the head moving with my head movements. But as you can see, I'm not centered now. I need to set my sweet spot. I just hold my head in the position I want the sweet spot to be and click sweet spot. From now on, this will be my center position. If you want to reset the sweet spot, you can do that as many times as you need. Now we're ready to mix. Just remember to bypass the plugin once you're ready to bounce the tracks. A couple more things I'd like to show you here are these two control sections down here. First of all, the room ambience will let me control the amount of reflections I have in my virtual room. The speaker position section will let me control the position of the speakers. I can move them around in all directions. For stereo mixing, you'd usually want to leave the speakers at their default position. That is 60 degrees in front of you. NX also features surround components, 5.1 and 5.0. The surround components accept 5 or 6 input channels, but they will always output to just 2 channels for headphone listening. These 2 channels contain information about all the input channels in their virtual positions. So you hear the left, right, and center speakers in front of you and the rear speakers behind you. You'll notice that when you open NX on a surround mixing session, you will always have 2 options to choose from. 2 options for 5.1 and 2 options for 5.0. For example, when you open NX on a 5.1 surround session, you can either choose the regular 5.1 component, or you can choose a component called 5.1 to stereo. These 2 options are exactly the same, except that the 5.1 to stereo component has only 2 outputs, whereas the regular 5.1 component has the same number of inputs and outputs, 6 inputs, 6 outputs, but only 2 of the output channels are actually playing audio. Now, if all you want to do at the moment is to route NX to your stereo headphones, the simplest way to do this would be with the 5.1 to stereo component. But if you need to use NX surround without changing the number of output channels, for example, if you're monitoring through an outboard box, you should use a regular 5.1 component. Only in this case, you will need to route the left and right channels to your headphones, either from the in-out settings of your DAW or from an external patch. The last thing I want to show you is the head modeling section down here. NX is a psychoacoustics effect. Our psychoacoustic experience depends on the shape and size of our individual heads. And the nice thing about NX is that it lets you personalize the effect by entering your individual head measurements in the head modeling section. First, you gotta measure the circumference of your head. It's the longest distance around your head. So you go over the back of the head, over your ears, and over your eyebrows. My circumference came out 22 inches, so I'll input that in the circumference. Second, you need to measure the distance from ear to ear over the back of your head. My distance came out to be 10 inches, so I'll put that under interoral arc. Now I can set these settings to be the default, so every time I open an NX plugin, it will load with these settings. So guys, I think that's about all you need to know to get started with NX. I hope you enjoy it.
All right, so what I gained from that is maybe it looks like maybe the maximum number of inputs might be 6 for 5.1. So let's see how that all pans out. Great. Is it worth watching one more video? I think maybe this one, because it's AMBISonics B format mixing, which is what we are doing. So hopefully it talks about NX specifically. Let's just check one more video here.
You're an audio engineer. You've been getting mixing projects that ask you to mix audio for 360-degree videos on Facebook or YouTube or in VR projects. You're not sure what to do, so let's help you get started. The most popular audio format for 360-degree content today is AMBISonics B format. AMBISonics is a technology for recording, mixing, and playing back audio in full 360 degrees. And the most widely used AMBISonics format is the 4-channel B format. The 4 channels in B format don't route directly to individual speakers, the way that, say, a 5.1 surround signal is routed to 6 speakers. Instead, these 4 channels together represent the entire 3-dimensional spherical sound field. Now, when you're mixing for B format, you're facing 2 scenarios. Perhaps the session was originally recorded in B format using an AMBISonics microphone. If that's the case, no need to convert anything. Your track is already in the right format. But often, you'll be getting regular mono, stereo, or surround tracks. In that case, you can either take your entire mix and convert it to B format using an AMBISonics encoder, such as the Waves B360 plugin. Or you can use B360 as a 360-degree panner, insert it on each separate track in your mix, and use it to position each element in the 360-degree sound field. But wait.
Let's just check really quickly. Does our Ambi panner say anything about the format that it is? So in Max, the Ambi panner that we're using, is there anything about its format? Oh. AMBISonics equivalent panning without intermediate B format. Don't know what that means, but let's just keep watching. I'm still hopeful.
How can you listen to your B format mix? Well, B format can be decoded to pretty much any array of speakers, but to experience the full sound field, you'll need a crazy system, expensive and impractical. A more practical solution is to decode 360-degree audio for 3D binauralized sound on regular headphones. You can do this using NX AMBISonics, a component of the Waves NX Virtual Mix Room plugin, which spatializes B format for headphones. So, let's recap. You feed your stereo or surround mix to the B360 plugin, which outputs a 4-channel B format mix that you can bounce for your VR or 360 project. And you monitor that mix on headphones with NX AMBISonics. Now, we've just scratched the surface. For more info, head over to our website.
Well, we might need to check out that B360 as well. That could be useful. All right, so what now? Anything else here? Getting great headphone mix for tracking. AMBISonics tools tutorial. Let's see what that says, because I think that might be exciting as well.
Hi, I'm Yoni, product manager at Waves Audio.
I want to introduce to you two solutions for mixing 360 audio in first-order AMBISonics B format, which is the current audio standard for 360 videos and VR. The first solution I'm going to show you is NX AMBISonics, a component of the NX plugin, which lets you monitor AMBISonics B format on regular headphones. It gives you reliable, professional-sounding reference with full sphere spatial reproduction and with fully integrated head tracking. Using NX AMBISonics is really simple. First, I'll need a quad track, because B format is a 4-channel format. Now, I will insert NX AMBISonics on that track and route the stereo output to my headphones. I'll import an AMBISonics 4-channel recording, hit play, and listen. You'll notice that there are no...
Okay, so NX AMBISonics looks like it's a separate plugin, which we will find.
No speakers represented in the graph. Instead, you can see a 3D spatial meter that's representing the directions of sound in the mix. The different color dots represent different frequencies. The reds are the lows, the orange are low mids, yellow are high mids, and the brighter colors are the highs. If I click and drag, I can change the view perspective. This can help me understand better the 3D positioning in the mix. Now, in this example, I've been listening to an audio file that's been recorded in AMBISonics. But what if you want to create an AMBISonics mix out of mono, stereo, or surround elements? Here, you can use the Waves B360 plugin. There are two ways you can basically work with B360. You can use it as a 360 panner on separate tracks, or as an AMBISonics encoder on the entire surround mix bus. First, let's look at panning separate tracks. For example, here I have 4 separate mono tracks. I insert B360 on each of them as the last insert. Notice that the track changes from a single channel to a 4-channel track. I'm opening a 4-channel bus and routing all my tracks to it. On that bus, I will open NX AMBISonics for monitoring. Now I can use the B360 plugin to position the individual tracks in the AMBISonics mix. You can see that the NX spatial meter is showing the positions as I've panned them with the B360. Now that I'm ready to bounce the mix, I will first need to remove the NX AMBISonics plugin. You can see that my AMBISonics bus is back to 4 channels, but now I need to assign an output in order to bounce. I've created a bus and named it Bounce Bus. It's also a quad bus. I can now export my AMBISonics mix through this bus. Now, let's see how I work with B360 simply as an AMBISonics encoder on an entire surround mix. I'm going to import into my session a 7.1 mix of a live concert. And I simply insert the B360 on the track. That's all there is to it. If I want to, I can use the B360's controls to adjust the positioning of my surround elements in the 360 sphere, but once the B360 plugin is inserted, my track is already AMBISonics. One last thing you should know, B format files come in 2 standard configurations, AMBIX and FUMA. The Waves B360 and NX AMBISonics plugins conform to the AMBIX standard, but the B360 plugin has 2 utility components that enable you to go back and forth between AMBIX and FUMA. If your source material is FUMA and you want to monitor it with NX AMBISonics, you simply insert the B360 FUMA to AMBIX component on your track before the NX AMBISonics plugin. Conversely, if you've just finished mixing with B360, which is in AMBIX, but your target delivery needs to be in FUMA, you insert the B360 AMBIX to FUMA component on your AMBISonics bus prior to bouncing. So, that's your basic introduction to using B360 and NX AMBISonics. Of course, there's a lot more that can go into mixing 360 audio to maximize its potential. So head over to our website to learn more.
All right, without reading the manual, which is always the scariest and last thing we want to do, I reckon I can see a few potential, well, actually one. We need that. So if we think about it, how long is this video? 30 minutes. Okay, so if we think about it, we've got, and I'll try and put it all into one patch here. So let's see what it looks like. Do I have any more Max windows open? Okay, no. So here's the Ambi Panner. Open that, and then Command E, Command A, Command C, Command W. So we've got this Ambi Panner thingy. We've got this Ambi Panner, and what it's doing is it's taking in this. It's doing its own thing, and we're positioning stuff here. So this is kind of like this is doing the positioning or the creation of the sound, and then it spits out based on the number of outputs we have or the number of speakers we're saying we're going to use. It spits out those positions. So I'm even just thinking out loud here. Has anyone ever just changed this to 2? So that we have 2 outputs from our Ambi Panner. Does this work? Is it that simple? I've got my headphones on. I'm going to change the output of audio status to using my headphones, which I'm going to turn down first. Maybe I need to restart my audio. okay. That's clicking away. I wonder if that's going through to the video. No. But add max to the party. There we go. Cool. So we can hear that. Oh, I can hear that. And what are we doing here? We're just changing the azimuth of this metronome. So 2. It's definitely my left ear there. It's definitely my right ear. And that definitely sounds like it's behind me. So I'm wondering why, and maybe I need some more information on this, but why we can't just do that. There's probably a good reason. And now we'd probably have to look at what this set speaker position is and all this kind of stuff. Just got to learn more about this bad boy. But this, to my ear, does sound it was working kind of nicely till I did that set speakers position. So that makes me think, maybe if you don't do that. That kind of fixed it. Right ear. Yeah, I can hear that. It sounds behind me. That sounds in my left ear. What about elevation? Sounds like it's above. Now, if this is all we need, if this is all we need, people, then we're laughing. I can definitely hear that. What about the other sound? Let's do the other sound. Do I have any sounds that I can open? Yeah, what about this? There we go. The red one. Doesn't really sound in front of me, but I can hear it. Well, you know what? It's kind of doing it. So look, that's a really good start, I think. It's really hard to detach that image from your, from the eyes, because we're seeing it going up and down, but we're trying to think about it going backwards and forwards. But my other thinking is, how can we use these NX things to kind of get a little bit more out of this? So, I don't know. Let's try that in the next video, because this one's gone way too long.